Happy Monday. Don't know if you know this, but the Bengals play Monday night. So I'm excited. I'm going to kind of fill you in on some thoughts. And basically, what we're doing in Atumwa is we're doing 15 minutes of like kind of me just sharing, kind of like here's what the conversation's going to be about. And so Pastor Derek and I have been talking about like how to kind of simulate something like that. So this is our effort at that. But hopefully, like this group is about what does it look like to grow in your faith, grow in your family, and grow the kingdom of God. And every week, what we're trying to do is build around one of those topics in a conversation, and then let you in a circle, which would be your group today, kind of build around what we're doing there. And so um, I also am trying to figure out. There's three questions that I want every group to ask while they're also getting conversation questions. So let me try to explain it like this. You've got your every week questions, and then you got your questions around the conversation. Here are your every week questions that we're kind of working with, and you guys can build around this. And just this is kind of this preliminary stuff, and then I'll give you some fresh content. One of those questions is, did you do your homework? We're trying to actually establish like a homework assignment that's 5 minutes or less. Um, the next question is there anything you need to confess to the group? My hope is that it becomes a safe place, and this isn't like everyone has to share. It's a question that's going to come every week. Is there anything you need to confess? And man, I'm just telling you, as you grow in your vulnerability, I think you will grow in your health. And men usually keep things inside. And so my hope is that over time you guys just build a habit, a rhythm of confession. The third one is, where do you need to be encouraged? And honestly, this one I do want you to answer every week. Did you do your homework? And it's not like I think it could stir something if you do. The confession, definitely like we need safe places. Third one though, like where do you need encouraged? So many men are discouraged. So many men have people bringing them down. That what would it look like to actually have a place where people are building you up? And so all of this is with the idea of what does it look like to pursue becoming a better man. How do we become men that the man God created us to be? What would happen if we had more godly men? And so I just want to share three stories and see if any of these build into the conversation you might have today. This one I've shared often, but just as a reader, I just kind of like I just grab a hold of certain things. And one of them is about the reintroduction of the gray wolf into Yellowstone, and what the scientists kind of expected some changes, like ecologically, like if we reintroduce the wolf, what would happen? Because really, wolves were taken out, and so you had a lot of coyotes, um, and it was coyotes were getting the small animals, but like then also the deer population exploded, and so this is actually what happened when the wolves re-entered. It radically changed the behavioral patterns of other wildlife. The wolves began killing coyotes, which then all of a sudden now there was more rabbits, more mice, which when there's more mice and there's more rabbits, then there's more hawks and foxes and badgers and weasels. And in the absence of predators, deer had overpopulated, but now like the deer are kind of like, uh-oh. And so they had been overgrazing, and now they're not as prevalent. And so all of a sudden you just had like new foot patterns, like the deer hiding more instead of just kind of roaming wherever they want, which allowed new flora, fauna to regenerate. Berries started to come, shrubs, and with the berries, all of a sudden now you get a spike in the bear population. Not only that, but things that used to get whittled down all the time, stepped down all the time, they could actually grow. And in 6 years' time, now you had all of a sudden aspen and willow and cotton trees. And as soon as that happened, now you had songbirds nesting, and then you had beavers chewing that down. And beavers, like they like store up water, which allowed for like fish and reptiles and amphibians. And they even said, we believe this is impacting rivers. And it's so crazy to me when you introduce a wolf back in, how it actually created life. And in the absence of a wolf, there's just it was less than what was life. And the goal behind us getting together is, what if we reintroduced men who love the Lord, love their family, and build the kingdom back into our society, back into our environments? What if the men who've gone dormant, who've been kind of almost removed, rose up, not to be a burden, not to be power, but like to actually bring life? And so that's what you're a part of, is a forming up of men being reintroduced to who they're called to be. It's wild. This has kind of been a challenge, how to educate men forever. In 1744, I mean, we're going back, this is almost 300 years ago. There was the College of Williams in Mary. And they sent a letter to 6 Native American chiefs offering free education. They're like, we have a college, what if 12 of your young braves come? Love this. The chiefs, they politely declined, and this is their reply. Several of our young people were formerly brought up at the colleges of northern provinces. They were instructed in all your sciences, but when they came back to us, they were bad runners. They were ignorant of every means of living in the woods, unable to bear cold, unable to bear hunger. They didn't know how to build a cabin. They couldn't take down a deer. They couldn't kill an enemy. They spoke the language imperfectly and were therefore unfit for hunting, warrior, or counselor. They were totally good for nothing. This is great. Then the chiefs wrote back and said, if the gentlemen of Virginia will send us a dozen of their sons, we will take care of their education, instruct them in all we know, and make men of them. Isn't it wild? Like 250 years later, 300 years later, I don't know that we're much better. Like we have this high emphasis, like let's achieve in sports or get good grades. Why? So you can make money. Why do you need money? So you could be happy. And what I've observed is we have more people who are miserable, depressed, lost, addicted. We're wounded. And honestly, no one taught us how to grow up. And the problem is this has created a bunch of people who I think they play the victim card. And this kind of ticks me off. They're like, well, no one ever taught me how to. And I'm just like, that's true. But that day is done. And so for these next few weeks, like, well, I never knew. Well, now you're in an environment where we're trying to teach you. And what I've noticed is there's some who like, they kind of pull back and they're like, yeah, this is the. And you're missing the opportunity to lean in. And I'm praying that you would lean in. One more story. I just got done reading. I'm kind of on this kick of reading presidential biographies. So I just got done with Reagan. I'm in the middle of John Adams because I can't stay in the same area. But in August, I read a brand new biography on James Garfield. And this dude was wild. He was one of our president's 20th president, I think. And he fought in the Civil War. And he becomes president, honestly, by accident. He wasn't up for the election. This is one of those, like, everyone was like, ooh, this year they were kind of actually referencing this one because there are 2 primary candidates on the Republican side, and but they both were kind of like, let's just say they both had enemies, and so they couldn't ever get the majority of the vote. And behind the scenes, there's just this like, oh, what if we just nominated James Garfield? And he's the only president to be a ordained minister. Go back to the primary, the Republican convention. They're like, who's the man we trust the most? And it was James Garfield. And in the book early on, there was something he wrote. He said, I mean to make a man of myself. I mean to make myself a man. And if I succeed in that, I'll succeed in everything else. And I just think, I'm like, what if we just said, like, what does it look like to become a man? Like, and if I could figure out that, these other things, like it's crazy. If you aren't good with money, you get a financial coach. If you you want to get good at a hobby, you YouTube. I'm I'm aware of everyone is getting help and coaching in things that I would say are second and third. Primary is you loving the Lord, loving your family, and advancing the kingdom. But where's the environment where that is got the cheat code? Where's the master class on that? And so that's what we're gearing up for. So let me give you a conversation for today. My younger brother Jared, he was a part of a startup company, and it was something related to resumes, but it was digital resumes that had badges. But basically, like he was on the front end of helping reinvent, like, what does the future look like for resumes, for businesses? Like, because get this, you can say you went to such and such a school, that's on your resume, but did you learn anything at that school? So they were kind of trying to mess with that. Conversely, my older brother and we do funerals. There's a difference between a resume virtue and what my brother and I do is we end up talking at eulogies, funeral virtues. Resumes are the skills you need to make a living. But the virtues you want said about you at your eulogy, at your funeral, those you want about making a life, living a life. My words got a little mixed up there, but like one is like, how do I make a career? One is, how do you make a life? And so one of the things that I've had in my mind for several years as it pertains to who I'm trying to be, like when it's all said and done, this is Acts 11:24, man. It's talking about a guy named Barnabas, but I just try to put my name in there. Oh, that it could be said about me. Marty was a good man, full of the Holy Spirit, and strong in faith. And many people were brought to the Lord. What if that was said of me? So this is where we're going to start tonight. Your homework is what could make me a better man? Just put some time into that. With a secondary question of, why would you want to become a better man? What would help you, and why do you want? 'Cause here's the thing. If you don't know your why, you will eventually lose your way. Let me give you an example. I know why you want to look at pornography. I know why I would want to look at pornography, right? Like, so what I end up having to do is I actually made a list of why I don't want to. And when the why of why I don't want to became more compelling than the why I would want to, I didn't lose my way because the why was so clear. Listen, if I did, man, how it would impact me, how it would impact Jenny, how it would impact the church, how it would impact my kids, I'm just saying, when my why became more in tune with why I didn't want to, it overrode the why. I'm just throwing that, like, that's not my, do you know why you want to become a better man? What will it take for you to get there? So, in your time, I've kicked over some questions to Pastor DK, and I hope you guys have an amazing night discussing.